So this book starts with a really unusual quote. The quote is from the first epistle of Peter in the New Testament, which is a highly contested epistle that's commonly attributed to the Apostle Peter, but most scholars agree that it wasn't written by Peter. It's, I don't know how you pronounce the term, pseudonymous. It's a forgery, basically. Someone pretending to be Peter in order, for the cred, for the bump. Written to persecuted Christians, which is one of the reasons that people believe it wasn't written by the Apostle Peter, because Christians didn't start becoming persecuted to any great extent until after Peter died. But also it may reference things in Paul. It's written in a more elevated language than you would expect of one of the apostles. There's a lot of scholarship going on. That's not the reason it's weird that the book starts off with this quote. The quote is, show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers, fear God. And the reason it's unusual is because, A, this book isn't about fearing God, like respecting God, like being in awe of God. That's not what this book that we're covering this week is about. Anyway, it's that the full quote, if we take a look at it, is live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. All right, fair enough. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. Okay? Slaves. Like addressing slaves. Slaves, in reverent fear of God, submit yourselves to your masters, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. Yes, this is one of the passages in the Bible that people have used in the past to justify the owning of slaves. It's also the epistle where women are commanded to submit to their husbands. So it's one of the books of the Bible that is used to I guess, proof, quote unquote, hard sarcasm, that women are inferior to men and have a lower status, should have a lower status than men in society. Just a weird section of the Bible all around, and a strange way to begin a book that, again, is about kindness at its heart. And this quote doesn't have anything to do with being kind. It's just a strange beginning to an otherwise fairly unremarkable book. Welcome back to Deep in Bear Country, a Berenstain Bearcast. I am your host, Phil Gonzalez, and love is kind of dull, isn't it? A play on words. Love is kind, and that's what we're discussing today, the kindness of love, which is kind of a Mike Berenstain regular position to come back to. And in fact, that is what this week's book is really about. This week's book is the Berenstain Bears' Love is Kind. It's a Living Lights book. It's a religious book, but it's not at its heart really about religion. It's more about the bear country ethos of being kind to everyone, being respectful of everyone, approaching everyone with kindness and, in anticipation of kindness in return, and showing that by extending kindness to other people, you're simply making the world a better place. Kindness, understanding, politeness. They frame it as politeness a little bit in this book, but going off the title, kind, love is kind, I'm going to go with that as like our main takeaway lesson here, because that's what this book is. The Berenstain Bears, Love is Kind. Let's dive on into it. I don't really have it. I have something stuck in my tooth. Hold on. Sorry, I had a little bit of samosa stuck in my tooth. That was weird. But no, this book, and actually the body of this book uses a Bible quote that I like a lot, that I think is right on, and actually continues the quote later on in the book. It's great. It's very useful, and I like the lesson taught in this one. Again, coming from Phil, who's not a religious person. So let's take a look. Where are we? Yes. So love is kind. Thank you. You're welcome. So on the cover, we see Grizzly Grand extending a gift to the Bear family, to Mama, Papa, Sister, Brother, and Honey. It says Berenstain Bears, Love is Kind across the top. But where I was hit in a weird way with this book when I first saw it was so it says Love is Kind, and then the words thank you and you're welcome appear above the package in large ghostly letters, very spooky lettering. This is like, thank you, you're welcome. Like festooning, giving this book a sense, a little pre-Halloween spirit, because, and as we know from history, from Berenstain Bears history, from Berenstain Bears continuity, Grizzly Gran, a practicer of the occult. Just that's canon. We know she does. She practices the occult. She reads tea leaves. She reads crystal balls. She literally owned a magical crystal ball that she used to tell people's fortunes. We love Grizzly Gran. We love the fact that this family has a hedge witch in it who also attends church with the rest of her family. We love the promotion of witchcraft throughout the Berenstain Bears, the promotion of cryptids, the promotion of alternate ways of thinking. We love Grizzly Gran. She's a level head in an otherwise wacky world, and she's here to teach a lesson about kindness through example, which is how we love to teach lessons in Bear Country, by setting a good example. You can't just tell somebody to be kind. Just be kind, and they'll see you doing it, and they'll see how much better that makes the world. So Grizzly Gran, holding up a present, spooky lettering, thank you, you're welcome, woo, by Mike Berenstain. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at this book. So we started off with our wacky quote, but we're not gonna dwell on that anymore. It was a wacky quote, a weird way to begin a book, Mike. So the Bear family, we get a little rundown of what the Bear family are like. Members of the Bear family, they have fun together. They like to go on rides together. They like to play croquet together. We got a little picture out of them like playing some croquet in the yard. Never seen them really spend a lot of time playing the croquet, but this book really makes us really hammers home the importance of croquet to the Bear family. But mostly they just enjoy sitting around with each other, enjoying each other's company. They like doing nothing together, just sitting around doing nothing. So where's the conflict? Is there a plot to this book? Is there going to be a conflict? Oh, heck yes. And it starts pretty soon, because in recent days, the Bear family has been getting into lots and lots of fights. Oh yeah? Gee whiz. Phooey, the kids are saying terribly rude things. They're not saying thank you. They're not saying excuse me. They're saying, oh yeah. They're saying gee whiz. I guess like Honey Bear saying gee whiz. Like if you look at the picture, Honey Bear's throwing her arms up in the air. Gott den Himmel, gee whiz. Phooey, says brother. And sister just glares at him angrily. What is going on with the Bear family? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. Instead of the fun family, they're becoming the fussy family. That's what the book wants us to know. Instead of the fun family, the Bears were becoming the fussy family. Now, I don't think this is actually a reference to anything. I don't think this is a reference to an actual show. There's no show called The Fun Family. The Brady Bunch was kind of a fun family. But this isn't about the Brady Bunch. I'd say that the family and Happy Days weren't very fun. The kids had fun, but the family wasn't fun. I think it was a good fun family sitcom. There was no fun family sitcom. There's plenty of fussy family sitcoms. You got your Roseannes, you got your Married to Children. The 90s were replete with fussy family sitcoms. The Simpsons, heck, even the Berenstain Bears is a bit of the fussy family sitcom, as they can kick up a fuss. But this is an unusual thing. So no longer the fun family, they are now the fussy family. What's going on with this family of bears, you may be wondering? Let's find out. So they're bummer. It's a bummer. Like when you're in a bad mood, when everybody's in a bad mood, when nobody's getting along, when there's a lot of tension in the house, a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, a lot of sniping, it really tends to depress the mood in the family. And we see that reflected in our bears. And this is a way we haven't seen the bears in the past. This is not a usual circumstance for the Bear family. We're not typically shown the family literally being sunk into like a pre-depression, into like this deep funk brought on by their own behavior. And it's like a feedback loop, right? Like one person's in a bad mood, it puts the rest of the people in a bad mood. They feed the bad mood to the original person. That person feeds the bad mood to the rest of the family, and it creates an oppressive atmosphere in a household. And sometimes it takes a real kick in the can to get over that feeling. A real kick in the can. But who's going to kick that can? Who's going to bring about the change? Who is going to help this poor family? Well, no one just yet. Things are bad. Whatever the reason, things were going wrong at the big tree house down a sunny dirt road deep in Bear Country. Hey, everybody, it's the title of the show. Mike worked the title of the show into the book. It's a Berenstain Bears phrase. It's been used in many books. But I wonder if when he writes those words now, does he think of me? Does he think of this show? Is Mike like, and down a sunny dirt road... deep in Bear Country, like, oh God, like now, like this is what it's going to be for the rest of his life. he's going to see those words. And even if I'm not at the front of his mind, I'm going to be there. I'm there in the back. I'm there tickling that medulla oblongata. Sorry for the graphic brain imagery there, everyone. But people are starting to notice. And by people, I mean animals. And by animals, I mean neighborhood animals. Mama Bluebird, there's so much yelling and screaming and throwing of things, I guess, in the bear house that it wakes up the baby birds. The bear family's pet fish totally anthropomorphizes herself and puts her fins over her ears. Even the owl lamp, everybody's favorite piece of decoration in the bear family treehouse, even the owl lamp changes its wooden expression. Yes, it has a carved face, and even now it's squinting of all the yelling and screaming and throwing of things about. Can't stand it. Now we know how bad things get. Why? Because characters we have not seen behave like living, like talking people in years are suddenly talking, living, breathing neighbors again. The Bear family's neighbors didn't know what to think. And I don't mean Lizzie Bruin. I don't mean Barry Bruin. I don't mean Ms. McGrizz. I mean Mrs. Squirrel. That's right. We haven't seen wild animals talking and behaving like people in years. And all of a sudden, Mrs. Squirrel's sitting on a log next to a rabbit and next to some frogs. And she's like, you'd think they'd at least keep their windows closed. And Mr. Bunny says, my goodness, they used to be such a nice family. And Mrs. Frog says, such language. What do you suppose has gone wrong? So you know, when the neighbors are talking, when they're saying things like, I wish they'd keep their windows shut, you know things have gotten bad in that house because it's just a constant, it's just screaming. I have lived near neighbors where it's just constant yelling and those windows are open and you wish they would shut them because you can't do anything to help. Like, you can't stop this. This is the domestic situation. They need help, but you can't do anything. So you just sit there and you worry and you put your hands over your ears. And you're like, oh my goodness, please stop with the screaming. It's too much. It's too much. One day, Grizzly Gran comes up the sunny dirt road. She's got a package in her arms. She's bearing a gift. She's going to visit our bear family. She rings the doorbell, ging gong, but no one hears her ring. No one can hear her ring. It's too noisy. She knocks on the knocker, but no one can hear her knock. She rings the bell and knocks the knocker and shouts their names. And finally, Mama answers the door and she's like, why, Gran, come on in. This is your mother-in-law, Mama. I can't believe you're this embarrassed. I can't believe it. Why didn't Papa should answer the door, honestly, because this now Mama looks bad and it's not really her fault. I mean, it's somewhat her fault. Thank you, said Gran. Sorry about shouting. And excuse me for interrupting, but I brought you a gift. Would you please accept it? So Gran's words hung in the air. So she said, thank you, right? Sorry for shouting. Excuse me for interrupting. I brought a gift. Would you please accept it? Sorry, thank you, excuse me, and please were words the Bear family had almost forgotten about. Now, I don't fully believe that the entire problem we're looking at here is politeness. I don't think it's all about there are larger problems at work here. But as we know, you can operate from the outside, you can operate from the inside. If you operate from the outside moving in, that can work if you're amenable to that, which is where we saw this in the Berenstain Bears forget their manners. When brother and sister obnoxiously act obnoxiously polite in order to get Mama off their back, and they end up becoming polite. So we know that simply by behaving a certain way, you can adapt that into your behavior and change the tone of the room. So keep that in mind. The Bears open Grizzly Gran's gift. Now here's where things get interesting. So Grizzly Gran has given them a beautifully framed sampler. We've seen beautifully framed samplers in the past. We know that Mama has made a religious sampler that hangs above their fireplace, but this is a new one. It says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. That's 1 Corinthians 13:4. Now, of course, I looked this up. Of course, I was like, what's the full quote? The full quote, like the full chapter from the 1 Corinthians, a Pauline epistle, is actually really cool. It's a great quote. The full chapter is really cool. So I'm going to read it out loud now. I think it's just it's a really great sentiment, which is, if I speak in the tongues of men and angels, or in the languages of men or angels, but I do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That's the whole chapter. Famous stuff in there. I think that's where the through the glass darkly in like the original translation comes. I think that's where it is. But you know, when I was a child, I put away childish things, yada, yada, yada. But the big thing is it's this treatise on the importance of love. It doesn't matter if you have everything else. It doesn't matter if you, even if you're a fairly decent person, if you give away all your stuff to the poor so that you can so that you have the right to boast about how awesome you are. If you don't do it with love, it doesn't really matter because your knowledge is going to fade. Your faith is going to fade. Like you're going to die one day, but your love will resound. And I love that. I love that because that's what Mike is always trying to get at in these religious books. You cut away the chaff. You cut away the Bible quotes. You cut away not Ferdy Factual. You cut away Cousin Fred bringing up points and reciting hymns and psalms, all of that at the heart of Bear Country, at the heart of the Berenstain Bears books, as exemplified in the modern religious books, especially in the Gifts of the Spirit series. The heart of the Berenstain Bears is the concept of love and kindness. And to Mike, in Mike's theology and in his philosophy and in his writing, love and kindness overlap. Bear in mind, of course, kindness, not nicety, not niceness, not just politeness. Kindness is giving people the room to be who they are. Showing respect, approaching people with love, giving people the benefit of the doubt. All those things that the Bears are constantly striving to do, always failing at, like constantly failing at, and having to reset themselves because that's what human beings are. That's what people are, flawed machines. But also the fact that Grizzly Gran shows up. She doesn't yell at them. She doesn't correct them. Not honestly, and in all honesty, if a family's having problems this big, they need more help than this. But this is an example setting for children. Grizzly Gran shows up in kindness, in politeness, giving the gift of love, literally giving a gift of love. And setting an example for the Bears, because that's what the Bears do. They set examples for each other. They learn from examples because they're smart. That's part of their community, part of being in a community, part of love, part of sharing, part of caring, part of giving, part of goodness, part of being in Bear Country. It's what Mike is always trying to put forward. Just be a good person. Be a kind person. Approach people with kindness. So this is where politeness comes in. Again, I don't think it's so much a book about politeness, but she says, this is to remind you all about the importance of politeness in a loving family. Great. I mean, I guess that's true. Importance of politeness in the sense that behave cordially to each other with proper politeness, proper etiquette towards each other, and the love will find love will find an open door that it can now flow through. I guess is the way you behave properly. It makes the love easier to come. I guess is the way Gran is approaching it. In the family's touch, they hang up her sampler. Papa says, thank you. Sister says, please sit down, Gran. Brother says, sorry for not coming to the door more quickly. And Mama says, excuse me while I make a pot of tea. So we got the thank you, we got the please, we got the sorry, and we got the excuse me all in there. Nice, polite things to say. And I love that Sister is like, please sit down. Sometimes when we say please, we're asking for a favor. She's not asking for a favor. She's simply being gracious. A gracious host to her very gracious guest. So that is the Bears putting Gran's example into immediate action. They immediately start behaving the way they would like to be treated. The way Gran has treated them, they treat her in return. The essence of Bear Country, the essence of the religious books, and all the books, really. The essence of Bear Country. So, and Mike is a realist, of course. They don't stop fussing. That's the first thing he says as we near the end. They don't stop fussing and squabbling overnight, but things start to improve at the big treehouse. Oh yeah, gee whiz and phooey, give way to please, thank you, and excuse me. You don't always, I love that the example, so Mama has baked cookies, and Papa says please before he takes a cookie. Brother has taken a cookie, and he's saying thank you. And I love the example of excuse me, because little honey is actually shoving sister out of the way to get cookies and saying excuse me, which is kind of what little kids do. It makes sense. She's using the language of politeness, even though her behavior isn't quite polite. She's making the effort. She knows, it's that thing where she knows the words. They haven't quite clicked with her yet of what they mean, how to behave. She'll get there. She's a little kid. And they start going on trips together. They start playing croquet again together. They sit around and do nothing together. And it's a lot easier to do those things when you are actually enjoying each other's company. And the book ends with Grizzly Gran pleased that her plan to remind the family about the importance of politeness was working. And they're the fun family again, not the fussy family. Huzzah! And they're a loving family. Because the way we behave is also the way we show love. Like, it's not just, and Mike has said this in books, it's not enough to feel something. You have to act on it. Again, the religious books, the Berenstain Bears books, they're all about taking action. They're all about putting your philosophy, your theology, your beliefs about community into action. It's not enough that you love people. You have to demonstrate love. Love is not a feeling, it is a verb. Love is an action verb. That is Mike's thing. Love is a thing. Love is what you do for other people. Love is how you treat other people. Love is kindness. Love is kind. That's the book. I'm sorry to be pedantic about it, but it's true. I'm a little touchy right now because I just read someone, I don't remember, he was on Reddit or something. People were going off about Mike again about like, oh, the Berenstain Bears books are all like right-wing propaganda now because he's religious and Mike forced his parents to write religious books. It's the old saw, even though Mike is like genuinely kind person who just wants people to be nice to each other. And he didn't force his parents to do anything, yada, yada, yada. But it ends with Grizzly Gran quoting the end of the Corinthians quote, and now these three remain. Love, hope, and faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? The Berenstain Bears Love is Kind. It's a Living Lights book, a faith story. If you're religious, if you want your kids to have a good religious book about kindness and about love, this is a good place to start. It's a good place it's not a book about being polite. It's not forget their manners, even though that is the crux of their behavioral trick. It shows you that it's just a good demonstration of how the way we treat others affects like everything and everyone, and how you can start taking action just by being kinder to people. Love is kind. Love is kind. And it's a good introduction to that Corinthians quote. Like, you can really sit down with your kids and talk about that Corinthians quote. The whole thing. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how holy you are. It doesn't matter how much you pray or go to church or any of that stuff. If you don't have love, if you don't love other people and demonstrate that love with kindness and compassion and understanding, then what's the point? What's the point? Because none of the rest of the stuff is going to survive once you're gone, but the love will remain. That's the Mike thing. It's a Mike thing. It's a Berenstain Bears thing, and it's a good philosophy. I like it. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for tuning in, tuning on, and dropping out, or whatever it is you do. I don't know. Thank you so much for watching me. If you watch this on YouTube, thank you so much for listening to my other show. It's Del Toro time. We'll be back in a week or so with another episode. I think we're covering Mary Shelley's Frankenstein on that one, like the movie, like the Ken Branagh film that nobody likes, but we're going to take a look at it, see what we think about it. I haven't seen it since it came out, so I don't know. I'm not a very smart guy, so maybe I like it. Who knows? But once again, thank you a lot. I really liked this book. You pick up a copy, you can get it digitally, you can get it in paperback, you can get it physically or digitally. Either way, if you want to add this one to it's beautifully illustrated too. It's got really great character work by Mike. It's really solid character work by Mike. I really like this one. So yeah, it's a good one. The Berenstain Bears Love is Kind. Great message for everyone. Religious or not. I mean, obviously there's Bible quotes and stuff, so you probably won't want this book if you're not religious. But the message, you can take the message anyway. Listen to me and take the message forward. Love is kind, be good, be a nice. Be a nice. That's the Phil way of life. Try to be a kind. And I'll see you all next time, deep in Bear Country.